Welcome to Business with Louis, the show where we break down complex business concepts into actionable insights for entrepreneurs and students alike. Today, we're going to explore one of the most pivotal moments in financial history, the 2008 financial crisis explained. In straightforward terms, it was a global economic downturn triggered by a housing market bubble burst in the United States. This led to a massive collapse of financial institutions, resulting in widespread job losses, home foreclosures, and a significant decline in international trade. The crisis was so severe that it prompted governments and central banks worldwide to implement unprecedented measures to stabilize the financial system. At its heart, the crisis was fueled by excessive speculation and risk-taking in the housing market. Banks and other financial institutions extended large amounts of credit to homebuyers who couldn't afford the mortgages, knowing they could package these loans into securities and sell them to investors. This practice, known as subprime lending, created a massive bubble that eventually burst when homeowners began defaulting on their loans. One influential thinker associated with the crisis is economist Hyman Minsky, who developed the financial instability hypothesis. Minsky argued that financial markets are inherently unstable and prone to speculative bubbles, which can lead to devastating consequences when they collapse. His theories were eerily prophetic, given the events of 2008. The 2008 financial crisis also highlighted the dangers of deregulation and the importance of effective oversight in the financial sector. The Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act of 1999, for example, repealed parts of the Glass-Steagall Act, allowing commercial banks to engage in investment activities which increased their exposure to risk. This lack of regulation created an environment where financial institutions could take on excessive leverage and engage in reckless behavior without adequate oversight. One notable example is the collapse of Lehman Brothers, which was one of the largest investment banks in the world at the time. When Lehman filed for bankruptcy, it sent shockwaves through the entire financial system, causing widespread panic and triggering a global credit crunch. However, not all institutions were as fortunate. Companies like Bear Stearns and Merrill Lynch were forced to sell themselves to other banks at fire sale prices, while others, like Washington Mutual, were seized by regulators and sold off to J.P. Morgan Chase. These events highlight the importance of prudent risk management, effective leadership, and adaptability in times of crisis. In addition to these examples, research findings suggest that the 2008 financial crisis had a disproportionate impact on certain groups, such as low-income households and minority communities. A study by the Federal Reserve found that nearly 10 million families lost their homes to foreclosure or distressed sale between 2007 and 2010, with African American and Hispanic families being hit particularly hard. So, what can we learn from these examples? Firstly, it's essential to stay agile and adapt to changing market conditions. This means continuously monitoring your business's risk exposure and being prepared to pivot when circumstances change. Secondly, regulatory oversight is crucial in preventing financial catastrophes. While deregulation may seem appealing in the short term, it can lead to devastating consequences in the long run. Thirdly, even the most sophisticated financial institutions can be vulnerable to collapse if they're not careful. In terms of practical applications and tips for our listeners, here are a few takeaways. Always be cautious when it comes to debt and leverage. Diversify your investments and avoid putting all your eggs in one basket, and stay informed and up to date with market trends and developments. For business students or aspiring entrepreneurs, it's also essential to develop a deep understanding of financial markets, risk management, and regulatory frameworks. Instead of taking on excessive debt to finance growth, they could explore alternative funding options, such as venture capital or crowdfunding. They could also diversify their revenue streams by expanding into new markets or offering complementary products and services. In conclusion, the 2008 financial crisis was a pivotal moment in financial history that taught us valuable lessons about the importance of regulatory oversight, adaptability, and caution. As we move forward in today's fast-paced business environment, It's essential to remember these lessons and apply them in our own ventures and careers. By staying informed, being prepared to adapt, and maintaining a prudent approach to risk management, we can build stronger, more resilient businesses that are better equipped to weather future storms. That's it for today's Business with Louis. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, every great business starts with action. Make your next move count.